tell you something. Let me tell you. Before watching this video, please like and subscribe, as this will help this channel grow so I can keep making great videos for you guys. Peace. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Jay back here again for another video on Real Sports Talk. And today I want to talk about Everson Griffen signing with the Cowboys. And what do I think that means? Like, how do I look at this Cowboys offseason as a total? You know what I mean? Because you got to think about it. In this offseason, the Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys, after having an 8-8 season, after going 10-6 and playing versus the NFC champs in the divisional round, even though they got blown out. But, beating the Seahawks in the first round, going 10-6, and almost having a shot to go to the NFC championship game. Going 8-8 the next year, losing your coach that you had for the past 10 years, losing your Pro Bowl cornerback, losing one of your best, if not your best, stats-wise pass rusher on your team. The Cowboys go out, and not only do they upgrade at pass rusher with Everson Griffen, who, in my opinion, is a better football player at the defensive end spot than Robert Quinn is, because, Quinn will probably give you a higher sack total number in the 10s, where Everson will only give you probably around 8, 9, 7-ish. He's more impactful and he's more disruptive, especially in the run game, whereas Robert Quinn's kind of a one-dimensional player. As in the run game, he's very small and he's not as effective as he should be for his position. So he's more of like an outside linebacker, to whereas Griffin's more of like a 4-3 defensive end, which means that with Griffen going to Dallas and already having the 4-3 defensive end with DeMarcus Lawrence and having two really good defensive tackles, that you haven't been able to say that Cowboys have had good defensive tackles in a while, and Dante Poe and Gerald McCoy, this team is going to be kind of like a 4-3, and we may see some 3-4-ish things. I don't think they're going to be dominant in either or. I think we'll see more 4-3 than we will see 3-4, but I think they will switch it up, and they will be like a, diverse, different dynamic defense, and I think that's what they're going to want to do. And not only after losing Byron Jones, you go draft one of the best corners in the draft, a corner that was projected to be a first-round pick in Trevon Diggs. So you feel that need, right? Because going into the draft, your two biggest need was defensive end and corner, right? Some can say center, but you had already drafted a center/guard in last year's draft around, the second round or the third round in Connor McGovern that you believe is going to develop into a starter this year, which, he played on the bench last year, especially dealing with an injury. Now you think he's going to be able to kick up to that role. And with right end and, corner being your two biggest needs, not only did you feel that need in the draft with corner, and you feel the need with, with Everson Griffen in the free agency with right end, I feel like you upgraded a little bit in both of those spots. So you got to look at it. And then when you go to coaching, you got a better coach. So when you look at all that stuff, the coaching, the Everson Griffen pickup, the Trevon Diggs pickup, the drafting, not mention that you drafted probably the number one wide receiver or the second best wide receiver in one of the most, if not the most loaded receiving class we have seen in years. I would go a step further to say that this is probably the most loaded receiver class we've seen. I don't believe that. I believe that this receiver class is probably more loaded and more talented than the 2014 class that had Odell and Sammy and them boys. And you got that guy in the first round. So you got a dynamic number one receiver to be your wide receiver 3 for the first couple of years of his career, already having 2-star 1,000-yard receivers. Not only do you have that, you go and fill a need that you needed without having to draft some young dude. You go get Everson Griffen, a proven Pro Bowl, coming off a Pro Bowl caliber player, and then you go get a first-round talent corner in the second round in Trevon Diggs to fill the Byron Jones need. I truly believe the Cowboys had the best offseason in the NFL. I know you're going to be like, well, Calais Campbell went to Baltimore and they drafted J.K. Dobbins and da-da-da-da, and that's cool. But you got to think about it. The Cowboys had needs. They lost players. People was talking about how they lost, all these key guys, and they upgraded and they filled all these roles while still getting better. You can't say the Cowboys got worse. You went from having an 8-8 mediocre coach to a Super Bowl winning coach that's been in the playoffs almost every year. They had a streak of going to the playoffs year and year again, and been in multiple NFC championship games and been to a Super Bowl and won it. Versus a really well coached Steelers team. You see what I'm saying? And then on top of that, you get better players in the free agency. Not to mention you lost Jeff Heath and you go pick up Clinton Dix, who's a better free safety. That way you can play a guy like Xavier Woods in a more fitted role for him in a strong safety. You getting Leighton Vander Esch back to be healthy for a whole year, which means you won't have to rely so much on Sean Lee, and you'll get to see more Joe Thomas. So how can you not say this team hasn't improved? See, people want to be like, well, you know, now the excuse is with Everson Griffin. Oh, well, the D-line's old, retirement home D-line. This D-line, right? And they want to talk down on the D-line, right? But this D-line is stacked. It's stacked. This is probably one of the most stacked D-lines in the league. And I'm not just talking about the front four. Because front four-wise, they're not the best front four in the league. No. But look at the depth. You have Antoine Woods, who was a starter on this team last year and is a great energy player. He's on the bench now. You have Tyron Crawford, who is a starting level player. He can be a starting right in on a lot of NFL teams. He's on the bench now. You have Bradley Anae, who was considered one of the best pass rushers in the draft and a steal. He's on the bench. You have Aldon Smith, who, yes, he deals with stuff. Yes, he's older. Yes, he hasn't been in the league for 5 years. But in his first couple years in the league was outstanding at rushing the passer. And I do mean outstanding. You got all those guys coming off the bench, not to mention Gallimore, who was another guy who people thought was going to be a first-round pick that you got in the third round that's on the bench. Tristan Hill, a guy that you drafted last year in the second round, you got him on the bench. D-line is stacked. I saw all these people hype up that Eagles D-line after they won the Super Bowl. When they got Bennett, they got another dude from the Lions. They had Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox. I saw them hype that D-line up. Unstoppable. And they drafted a little kid out of Tennessee. Unstoppable. But when this team comes together, which in my opinion probably got better defensive players and is a deeper defense, they're old. And I understand why it is. This is because of the Cowboys. Let's be real. If this was any other team, BR Gridiron, it's on BR. It's on Bleacher Report. It's on ESPN. Everybody talking about it. It's big news. I think it's time for people to start looking at this Cowboys team a little differently. People want to say 8-8, but this ain't no 8-8 team. Yeah, they went 8-8 last year, but you got to remember, this ain't no team, they won't see the playoffs. They've been in the playoffs 3 of the last 6 years. They're a playoff team. They've been in the playoffs 3 out of the last 6 years. Most teams have not been in the playoffs 3 out of the last 6 years. So you can't say they're just not a playoff team. They got a Super Bowl winning coach now. They got a better right end, a Pro Bowl right end. People are forgetting this man was a Pro Bowl defensive end. And you're matching him up with a defensive end in DeMarcus Lawrence, who's a Pro Bowl DN in his own right. You can't deny this team. You can try as hard as you can. I promise you can. But you can't deny that this team had the best offseason. They filled every hole they needed to. Yes, they didn't sign Dak Prescott. And that's the one thing you can tell me I'm wrong about. But everything else they did. They got the coach. They got the corner. They got the defensive end. They got the receiver. They replaced Randall Cobb with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb was expected to be a number one wide receiver, a day one starting wide receiver somewhere. If he would have went to New York or he would have went to Oakland, his expectation would have been, let's go be great year one. He would have been expected to be a top tier plug and play 800 to 1,000, really 1,000-yard receiver day one. That was his ceiling. That was his expectation. And he's going to be a wide receiver 3 behind 2 already 1,000-yard receivers with a Pro Bowl running back that has been top in scrimmage yards and rushing yards for the past 4 years. This team is loaded, and they played this offseason perfectly because they going into this season with no holes. With none. They upgraded in most places. So how can you say they didn't have the best offseason? That's all I gotta say about it, guys. If y'all agree with me and y'all believe that Dallas had the best offseason, y'all let me know. If y'all disagree and y'all think somebody else did, or like the Ravens or the Chiefs, I understand it. Let me know. But that's all I gotta say about it. Peace.